your founders, not that long ago, risked everything to start this great country. Men and women have died to preserve it. Is it okay if your politicians fight on TV for a few years? Oh yeah, I think we can put up with that to make sure we get it right. But eventually, to save this thing, we all got to come together.
Well said, Teacher Joe.
Yes, sir, right there in the green. And then I'll go here.
Yeah, Neil Wonderland, Harlan.
Why don't you grab that mic? Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Are we getting closer to seeing the Fed get audited?
Yes! Oh, well, here's my short-term memory. And I apologize. This really is my short-term memory. I'm a co-signer on the Ron Paul bill to audit the Fed. I believe we're voting on it next week or the following week. So the House is going to pass a bill within a couple weeks that will call for the Fed to be audited. But here's how crazy life is. Part of me thought, have we already done that? I don't think we have. But it's there and it's scheduled for a vote. I believe it's sometime in the month of July. And it's an important first step. Yes, sir, right here. Somebody's getting their exercise tonight. There you go. Thank you.
I have a local question,
Local.
to tell you the truth, about Illinois. And I'm concerned with the SMART Act that was just passed. And I can't find any information about that, except that it's supposed to be limited to 133% of the poverty level, or else you don't get it, and all your assets are at risk. And I don't know anything about that. You?
I'm drawing a bit of a blank. Can anybody chime in on the SMART Act? Food stamps. Oh, food stamps.
No, it's not
No?
food stamps. It concerns Medicaid.
Well, part of Obamacare is going to expand the Medicaid rolls to 133% of the poverty level. So it's going to dramatically expand the number of people who are eligible to be on Medicaid. That's where that 133% comes from.
Well, for my attorney, he said that all your assets are at risk. If you can't pay, you don't go into a nursing home unless you have the money.
Hey, Tuck, is this ringing a bell at all? Say that again. Say that again. Say what you just said.
My attorney that's going to take care of my father, his taxes, and his funds that he has set aside, has told us that none of your assets are safe. If you go into a nursing home, you have to pay if you got the money. And it's supposed to be 133% of the poverty level. After that, boom, you don't get it. Unless you pay.
To get on,
and whether it's via a house or anything.
To get on Medicaid.
What?
To get on Medicaid and how it relates.
You don't have to be on Medicaid.
How it relates to your assets is that in order to get on Medicaid, there's a certain level of assets that you can't have. You have to spend down your assets before you qualify for Medicaid.
5 years.
That's for the house. But you
have to have income on the poverty level of 5 years.
Right.
It's 133% of the poverty level. For 5 years, you have to live like that. Then you can go into a nursing home or whatever.
You have to qualify for Medicaid.
Do me a favor. Set the microphone all the way to the back.
If they have more than that, you don't
qualify for Medicaid.
To qualify for Medicaid.
The reason that happened, sir, just so you know,
here you go.
There used to be a 2-year look-back program to qualify for Medicaid. Now there's a 5-year look-back period. What that means is that if you're going to throw yourself on the mercy of the taxpayer, they want you to hide your assets. So you have financial planners telling you, hide your assets, gift your money to your children, spend down all your assets so you can qualify for Medicaid. The problem with that is that Medicaid kills. And so it's the last alternative. People are dying on Medicaid.
When you say Medicaid kills, what do you mean?
2 studies. American Academy of Cardiology in 2005 did a study on surgical patients who are on Medicaid. And the American Academy of Cardiology found out in that study that those Medicaid patients are 50% more likely to die. So they did another study in 2009 after they decided to try and fix that. And the result from the University of Virginia study, which was far more comprehensive, is that Medicaid patients, surgical patients, are 97% more likely to die. The reason is because the reimbursement ratios that the government pays to doctors who take Medicaid are so low that these poor patients aren't getting follow-up care. And that's my biggest concern with the Obamacare legislation, is they're going to add 25 million people onto these Medicaid rolls. I'm terrified for our seniors. So if you can avoid, sir, in answer to your question, if you can avoid Medicaid and do proper planning before that, get a long-term care policy, or if we had a smart governor and a smart legislator, they would do things, which we do not, but they would do things like Governor Mitch Daniels did with his Healthy Indiana program and other programs where they're co-opting with insurance companies so that the Medicaid funds for people who are indigent can be used to purchase a health insurance policy and compensate that premium so that the government and the state funds aren't going bankrupt, but the insurer is taking part of that risk. But you don't want to be on Medicaid because you're now a ward of the state. Either your wife's going to be in bed too in Chicago, the husband's going to be somewhere else in Illinois because, you're now a ward of the state. So try to avoid it if you can.
Thank you. Other ones, let's go, hold on, right there in the middle, right here. There you go. Thank you. Pass that down, there we go.
Hi, Joe. My name is Chuck Courtney.
Welcome.
Quick question, and please excuse my ignorance on the issue. I don't know where you stand on the issue, but I wanted to ask a question. Where do you stand regarding the Volcker rule, which would require banks to separate into two pieces, one being investment houses and the other being banks, so that depositors' money, our money, is not being used to gamble in the investment markets?
I oppose. I oppose. I don't want the government mandating that banks can't do both. I'd rather that we live where banks just are very transparent with what they do. They play on both sides or they don't, and it's up to us consumers to figure out where to put our assets and our investments. As opposed to
haven't we well proven with the mortgage mess that's going on, with the things that are going on in the futures markets, things that are going in regard to LIBOR, that the banks are utilizing our money to, they call it investing, most people here would call it gamble, yet we don't get anything for it. As seniors, anybody that's got a CD or whatever, you're getting, 0.2%, yet they took your money and they gambled with it. And they lost it, and they came to you, and they said, you know what, you got to make up for my losses.
Well,
isn't that an...
you're right, and part of that I may agree with you, I won't go along with. When they accumulated all these losses and then they came to us and said, bail me out, we shouldn't have bailed them out. But we did, but we shouldn't have. We always bail out the big banks and we always bail out the big corporations. We shouldn't have. So I agree with you on that, but I think banks take advantage of oftentimes government policy. Look, it's been government policy for 40 years that everybody should own a home. Everybody should own a home. And government has systematically enacted policies and programs to make that happen, which has compelled banks to get involved in that sort of mess, to complicate things even more. But there's plenty of...
But it was the elimination of the Sarbanes-Oxley rule that allowed the banks to go out and securitize and to do what they did in the mortgage market. And when they got rid of it, because the banks and investment houses were separate, we didn't have the problem.
Maybe we can agree.
Now we have it today.
Maybe we can agree on this, that there's some happy medium. You ask virtually everybody, big and small, in the financial world about Sarbanes-Oxley, and they're going to pull their hair out, just like they're beginning to pull their hair out with Dodd-Frank. I mean, there's this regulatory pendulum, And I think we don't want it too far in either extreme. Generally, I support that regulatory pendulum swinging more on the side of keeping things open and unregulated, as transparent as possible. I think you can argue with Sarbanes-Oxley and certainly with Dodd-Frank coming down the highway. Glass-Steagall. No, I'm also talking about
Sarbanes-Oxley was the
Yeah.
original that separated.
Absolutely. And with Dodd-Frank that's coming down the pike as well, that the pendulum swung way too far the other way. I mean, we've got community banks in this country that can't lend because of government regulations. Their hands are tied. We've got small businesses that can't get money. We got big banks sitting on a big pile of money, but we're already tying everybody's hands so tightly with regulations.
But are the banks more interested in investing in gambling than they are in terms
Well,
of making loans? That was the big separation.
Again, if they gamble, if they act fraudulently with funds, there are means to go after them. Generally, I want whatever a bank does to be as transparent as possible, and I want we, the consumer, to know what their policy is. And you, as the consumer, you decide whether you want to put your money into that bank. Because, oh, they do play around with a lot of these complicated investment tools. I don't want to put my money there. I'd rather put my money into a bank that's just on the commercial side. But you, the consumer, make that choice. Instead of having government mandate that a financial institution can't do both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Let's go right there in the white shirt.
My name's Gene.
Hold that. I can't hear a word you say.
From Elko Village, I'm
Use the mic. Do you want to mix it up?
This is my 7th meeting with you, Joseph. All right? I'm starting to believe in you.
Uh-oh.
But I left a bunch of copies of Obama's health care, the most important pages. You'll all go home sick if you read it. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Next. Young man. Young man in the middle. What's that T-shirt say?
Red, white, and blue.
Red, white, and blue. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Matt. I'm from Roselle. I go to high school currently, and 700 billion, 800 billion wasted on stimulus. Where's the money? Where's the effect? And a question like that. I mean, he said 2 years it's gonna be good, and my dad is having trouble, running his construction company, not just because of regulation, because so many people have their hands tied in getting loans as well. So I mean, I got multiple questions. First of all, they said the stimulus is going to help construction companies. Nothing. They said that it's going to be easy to do business. Nothing. I mean, where's the effect? Where's the money going? How are we going to get it? How are we going to get it back?
Whoa, slow down. 2 quick answers. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
He genuinely believes that government creates jobs. That's why he borrowed $1 trillion to try to stimulate the economy. It didn't work. It doesn't work. You're not going to get that money back. Most of that money didn't go, even if it was a well-intentioned $1 trillion, it wouldn't have worked, and it wasn't well-intentioned. Most of it went to states to buy off unions, to go to projects that, even as the president chuckled, weren't shovel-ready projects. So no, a lot of it was spent very inefficiently.
And I got one more.
Quickly.
You say that we got to get you elected, we got to get Romney elected, we want to change something. Well, inevitably, we're going to have a bunch of career politicians that are also going to sweet talk some state or some district. How are we going to get around? What's the follow-through after we get you elected? I mean, obviously, November 6th, that's not the end date. We got to do something to make sure that all the changes we got to make actually get made. Because we're still going to have career politicians in there.
Thank you. She left. I was going to piggyback off of a question a few minutes ago. Here's my deal. Again, I think our country's going through a revolution. I'm glad. It's about time. You're too young. We've all been sleeping for 50 years. So this is going to take a while to fix itself. Here's one thing I know. If the country decides that they want to keep Barack Obama in charge and they want to vote for somebody like Tammy Duckworth and put the Democrats back in charge of Congress, if the country decides to go that route, then I know, yeah. Turn the switch off or on. Turn the spending switch on. Turn the lights in the country off. Because we may not as a country recover from that. Now, if the country